unless you didn't know how to do dewatering, which I didn't at the time, it would have costed me probably a couple $100,000 on the loan. That was $1.5 million loan at the time. I would have lost it all. But because of the business I was in, I followed the company, and for 3 days and 3 nights, I watched what they did dewatering, and I created my own dewatering system for that project, and I managed to do it for $60,000.
Welcome to the Real Estate Pros Show, where we interview real estate investing professionals from coast to coast, as well as the service providers that serve the real estate investing industry. Our goal is simple: share what's working now to help you improve and scale your business to the next level and meet the pros that can help you get there. Real Estate Pros is powered by Investor Fuel, America's leader in helping real estate investors and professionals build the business you need to live the life you've always dreamed of. Let's start today's show. Property insurance for real estate investors doesn't have to be difficult, but it does need to be there to protect you when you need it. MyInvestorInsurance.com not only provides insurance at 15 to 30% cheaper than traditional agencies, it's built specifically for real estate investors like you. You can set up an account in about 2 minutes, get quotes on properties, turn on and turn off insurance for your fix and flip or rental properties in around 2 minutes without having to talk to anyone directly, all through our portal. There's no better way or faster way to make sure you've got the coverage you need to protect you, and no more lengthy policies either. Once you're set up, you're billed monthly and prorated by the day for however long your policy is active. It's powered by MSI, the third largest independent MGA, with 1.5 million customers and more than $1 billion in cumulative premiums written. Get set up today in about 2 minutes at myinvestorinsurance.com/fuel.
Hey folks, welcome back to the show. Today's guest is a seasoned real estate developer with experience across Texas, New Mexico, and California. Currently in Texas, please welcome Matthew Otero. Matthew, welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you for having me.
It's great to have you on here, Matthew. And I always like to start off at the top by asking folks how they got into the real estate space.
Mine began at such an early age. I grew up in the mechanical business, which is plumbing, heating, and cooling. We did a lot of government contracts with the laboratories in Los Alamos and Sandia National Laboratories, which are the two government entities, offspring government entities that built the atomic bomb. So, and while we did some of that mechanical work, my father did a lot of mechanical work for my uncle, who was a builder and developed homes, properties and homes. And I was fascinated by this man because he's just big Hispanic guy, was retired sheriff, and I mean, he kicked everybody around on the construction site to make things happen. But when it came to customers, that guy was just like a pussycat. He knew how to gain the customers and do the PR, and that was just fascinated by that as a little boy. And then I continued to grow up in the mechanical business, and I started my own mechanical business at 26. And by 28, I started developing properties. It was unique in the developing the properties that I did because there was this one property that I wanted, but I didn't have the money for it. I didn't have no cash. I didn't have no down payment. I was living in my mechanical business, basically contract by contract, I was turning over $500,000, but what was coming in was going out just as fast. But what happened is this property, it was about 30 acres, was in a trust fund that owned it. And I made an offer to the trust fund that, I'd give them $25,000 down and pay for the split of the property and develop it. But I had buyers before I did that. I had two contractors, and oddly enough, I had a brother and my father-in-law who wanted to build new homes. So I took their down payment, used their down payments as the down payment I gave to the trust, negotiated the contract that after the properties were split and
Stop living on an island and join the #1 mastermind in America for professional real estate investors. Investor Fuel is a community of hundreds of the nation's top investors working together to build stronger businesses and better lives. In addition to the amazing community of real estate investors acting as a board of advisors for one another, Investor Fuel members have access to 100% funding on purchase and repairs for our members only, a health insurance program, and benefits and discounts that more than pays for the membership of most of our members, meaning it's actually costing you money to not be a member of Investor Fuel. If you're looking to scale your business and build a business that allows you to live the life of your dreams, please visit investorfuel.com today and book a call with our team.
building permits were issued, they would do acreage or lot releases on the amount of what they were selling, which they were selling at that time. I think it was $18,000 an acre,
Yeah.
which is cheap. This was back in the 90s, late 90s, and so when they did that, we ended up with 16 lots. They took their shares. I ended up with, I think, 9 lots of my own after it was all said and done. And they acre and a half lots, but I was selling them for, I think it was $65,000, or I was building homes on them, vertical construction, and including the cost of the lot for $45,000 an acre rather than the $18,000. So
Sure.
I just started from that, and I started going haywire on the bank. Saw what I was doing, and they were lending me loans on buying property, developing it, and then I got into, because I had my mechanical licenses, which is all your plumbing, heating, cooling, gas in New Mexico. I applied for a utility license, and that was hard. It took me 2 times to pass that test. But the utility license allows you to do all the infrastructure, which is the water lines, the sewer lines, the road construction, the sidewalks, and all that.
Yeah.
And I just started developing property from there, borrowing paper money from the bank and building out properties.
I think one of the things that real estate investors talk about now currently when they're looking at smaller projects is holding costs, right? But when you have a large project, when you're building out a subdivision, when you're bringing utilities to an area, there's, of course, massive holding costs involved in these deals.
A great deal. And in fact, back then, banking loans were, during the crisis of the 2009, all banking regulations changed. And the idea of developing with banks, it's you can consider yourself a financial suicide. It's just impossible to do the way that the funding has got to be paid in the interest payments. Whereas back then, when I did them, the bank would hold the paper and then roll over the paper and pay off the loans when they were doing me construction loans, and they would collect for each lot. You can't do that now. That was double rolling on the same paper, and of course, everything changed. So it is unless you don't have the full-fledged cash to develop out the property, and you use investors, that's the only way it would work. Because
agree.
the cost, you could let's take, for instance, back then, one project, you never know what you're going to face. And one project, even though I knew it took a lift station for the sewer line, I never knew nothing, or I never recognized the idea of dewatering. And I don't know if are familiar with what dewatering in a project is. It's when you're putting all your water pipes below the water table, and unless you didn't know how to do dewatering, which I didn't at the time, it would have costed me probably a couple $100,000 on the loan. That was $1.5 million loan at the time. I would have lost it all, but because of the business I was in, I followed the company, and for 3 days and 3 nights, I watched what they did dewatering, and I created my own dewatering system for that project, and I managed to do it for $60,000. And because I did my own on that project, I did a couple more contracts, but dewatering wasn't my thing. Developing was,
Man.
So yeah, you're right. The unseen of infrastructure and not having the experience, or having a developer of infrastructure, the developing contractor. having the developing contractor do the work for you.
If you're looking for consistent, high-quality leads, look no further than Investor Machine. Investor Machine isn't just another agency. It's the most sophisticated, data-driven lead generation company on the planet for real estate investors, and serves the role of being not just a lead generator for your business, but a marketing partner that is helping you achieve your goals along the way. Go to investormachine.com to learn more and schedule a call with our team today.
They're the ones that make the money. If the contractor, if the developer, he's lucky if he makes maybe 20% of what the developing contractor makes. So, unless you know how to do it, and I just happen to know how to do it, so it becomes quite easy for me.
I want to pivot a bit here, Matthew, and ask you about some of the behind the scenes efforts that go into the paperwork and the regulation involved and the connections with cities and counties. When you're doing developments, these deals take time, but they also take time to nurture these relationships. It's a two-sided coin, right?
It's a difficult two-sided coin, depending on the area you live. I'm here in Texas because Texas, and that's one reason why Texas is flourishing. It's very deregulated. I mean, it just doesn't have the regulations that other states have. I tried to develop in California back about 15 years ago, but when I hit my first hurdle on a development property, that there was this one bug I had to test for, that you had to stop the project and wait for the migration of this bug for 6 months. That puts everything on hold. That puts the fact that you purchased the property, you got contractors lined up. That one bug regulation just discouraged me of doing anything in California. So yes, there are, unless you know all the hurdles, and like even developing here in Texas, you have to meet the burden of what their regulations are. But it's simple if you know how to read and understand the
Yeah.
regulations. But that
I
can be
want
difficult too, because the regulations are pretty much like the Bible, I call it, and not that I'm
you
a
need
strong
some
Christian or anything else,
translations.
but
Yeah.
it's the translation and taking from one end and figuring out what to do with the other end. And the burden, if you don't know how to explain to the city officials, they only go by the rules of this book. And 90% of all city regulators don't understand their own laws,
The rules of the
because
book.
they're
Yeah.
implemented by engineers that they've hired to create these laws in the books to develop.
Yeah, that's 100% my experience as a realtor. It's interesting that these systems, these regulations, the contracts themselves become so long, so complex. Um, with attorneys reviewing them, that the people that are using them most day to day have maybe a very much surface level understanding of how to go about the process. But when issues arise, it quickly becomes tricky or hairy or expensive. I want to pivot a bit here and ask you about what I see to be a trend across the country, but definitely in Texas, where there does seem to be a big push for new builds, both from builders, from lenders, from builders that are vertically integrated with lenders, even from fix and flippers, seeing that the fix and flip game may be getting more challenging to make a buck on. And so people are potentially moving more towards new builds, new construction. Are you seeing that trend at all as well?
I am, and when you say that, it's just interesting that you say it on the flips, because we had talked about this earlier. Um, Money can be made on flips, but the one burdensome you have on a flip, unless you don't know what you're doing, your subcontractors can get to you, and your subcontractors can drain you financially. And in that same token, so can the city officials drain you financially, because your plan is to buy a flip and flip it, any typical flip. on any home, whether it be new construction or old construction, should not take no more than 6 months. The average 3 to 5 months.
If you're a new or newer real estate investor looking to launch or grow your real estate investing business, please check out Investor Fuel Club. It's a coaching community, but unlike anything you've ever seen before. And you can actually partner with members of our mastermind from coast to coast on deals right in your market. There's no better opportunity to build a consistent business than to literally partner with pros to help you avoid costly mistakes, avoid the need for capital to do deals, and help you eliminate your fears as you're starting your business. Learn more about Investor Fuel Club at investorfuel.com/club.
But in an inexperienced way of not having to know all the regulations, that's what takes time. And the trick part about a flip is people, the average customer of the home buying industry, two things about them. They don't see and they cannot picture the end result. So when they come into a renovated home, or they come to a property that all the dirt is just torn up and spread apart, they have no concept on their mind what it's going to be for their home. And the second part is, if in home renovation, if you can't take a 70s or an 80 home, even a 50s home like my beach home here, and renovate it to make it look like a brand new home rather than a repair and a patch up, that house is going to sit on the market for a long time.
No question. Homes are sitting right now as is. And so if you've got a home that's, an old aesthetic, it's not going to be able to compete with homes that have incentives, rebates, lower interest rates that are brand new, even if people pay a little bit more for them. I want to pivot a bit
Yeah,
here,
and
Matt.
exactly, that's getting back to your
Yeah.
that's getting back to your comment about why the new home market is so valuable right now, because it's done. It's completed. The people walk through their home. Of course, staging is one of the simplest things, the most important thing they do in a home to make people understand. Staging is when they fill furniture in and put pictures and everything. They get the sense of what their home is going to be like when they move in.
That's exactly right. Without the staging, you have to use your imagination, and however much money people spend on the staging, it's more than worth it. I wanted to ask you about managing crews and managing contractors, because this is really what separates success from the rest, right? Because you've got to be able to manage not just one site but potentially multiple. Even for folks who may be doing flips and scaling that business, it's not subdivisions, right? But it is multiple job sites. What's been your best takeaways for folks who may be looking at managing crews or multiple crews, and what advice would you give to folks who are looking at embarking on that?
Okay, you're very, very correct in that category. Again, like dealing with banks on developments, dealing with subcontractors on homes, unless you don't got the right system with your subcontractors, that can be suicide as well too. Because when you're waiting for your sheetrocker to sheetrock, and you're anxious to sheetrock, but your electrician, your insulation, your plumber hasn't done something right, that sheetrocker is going to come in and say, "Oh, well, this is not right." He's going to move on to the next job, and the next job, it's going to take him 3 or 4 days, and he may even have another one lined up to that. And if you don't have these subcontractor crews, what I say, like the corrupt world of having politicians in your pocket, if you don't have these subcontractors in your pocket, you might as well not be in the business at all, because that's another way that you're going to sit on that home indefinitely, even with development. Because having the crews at your service is most important to moving that project effectively and efficiently. And if I always tell, if somebody wants to get into real estate development or even in the home construction, find at least 3 or 4 partners, not partners in the actual home renovation, but create a kind of like a organization, or a I don't know what the exact word is that I'm looking for, a coalition
Yeah.
with controlling these subcontractors, that you're talking to another guy that owns and is flipping a home, or two other guys, and you're working together to where you can keep these subcontractors in your pocket for when you need them. Because if you're doing it by yourself and these subcontractors are gone, they're gone. You may not see them anymore, and you may have to be fighting for another subcontractor that, even though when you put out your whole financial plan of what this home is going to cost to flip, and you had a certain budget based on one guy that you felt good about when you were going to do the subcontracting on electrical, that market can change so fast depending on supply and demand. If the work is available, they'll give you a good price. And even when they're bidding on it on paper, they'll give you a good price. But when they're busy, they're going to shoot it through the sky. And you're lucky if you'll be able to get them. So you need to create a coalition of builders so that you can have these subcontractors at your beck and call. And having subcontractors that have a good crew is most important. Making sure they have all their paperwork up to date, from 1099s to employees to insurance policies. Insurance policies can wipe out the developer, because that's the burden on you as the project owner. That if that guy doesn't carry the right insurance and his person gets hurt on your property, they're going to sue you. They're not going to sue the subcontractor. Subcontractor's not going to have anything, two nickels to rub,
That's, a little bit of gold that we just got from you, talking about how to really protect yourself, but also how to potentially partner with people strategically, not necessarily as a JV, but to keep people within your sphere of influence so that they aren't, jumping ship to the next location. Matthew, we are coming up on time here, though. Any deals that you're currently working on right now, or what's your activity like in the real estate space these days?
I got two projects I'm working on. One of them is a partnership I bought with two other partners. About in 2022, which I think was pre-COVID. And I don't know if you're familiar. You said you're a realtor in Texas, so you obviously heard of Hurricane Harvey.
Yeah.
And Hurricane Harvey came into Rockport. The eye came right in here, moved out of the ocean between here and Houston, and went back into Houston and flooded all Houston. But the actual eye was here. And so I was able to buy properties a dime on the dollar, because those people that were living here and experienced that bad thing, they were freaked out by it. It mentally got them disturbed, and they took what they could for their properties and their houses and moved out.
Wow.
And a lot of them, the insurances didn't pay right because they didn't have the right flood or the right hurricane insurance, and they still had the mortgage, and they only paid one. For instance, is 16 acres that I have that was split into 27 half-acre lots. The guy had the 16 acres and the mobile home mortgaged together, but the mobile home, they only gave him enough to pay the property off and not the mobile home. So he still had the burden of the mobile home to pay off. And so we were able to pay him that difference and give him some profit in his pocket, and picked up the property, and I developed it out. So I'm holding on to that one. It's 26 half-acre lots, private community. It's going to have a gated entrance, high-end home. The homes will be built anywhere from 600,000 to $1 million to $1.3 million. Second was in a town called Seton, Texas. There was a rolled steel company that came in from the east, and because of the deregulations here in Rockport, in Texas, they built a $1.7 billion plant in a town that only has 3,000 residents, and they're just barely finishing up the plant, so they're not even in full operation. And I just happened to pick up 5 acres, and I designed and developed it for 40 lots, 40 townhouse lots, and that house is still, I mean, home renovations, that's one area that if you want somebody that is waiting for a home renovation, it's in that area, because there's just no houses. They're moving into the town of Corpus Christi. They're moving into even here in Rockport and buying homes or renting apartments. and driving 30 miles because this town was just, it wasn't, the town brought the company, but they weren't ready for the impact of the residents.
Yeah, that as
So
often
those are
happens.
the two projects I'm holding on. So with my two properties, I've got all the properties are paid for in full. I have the infrastructure and designing that I paid out of my own pocket, and that's paid for in full. I just need the horizontal infrastructure, which is about between a million one on one project and $1.5 million on the other. But we're
Matthew,
talking
where can folks go if
$30 million in home revenues over the next 10 years.
where can folks go if they may be interested in reaching out to you about either this deal or maybe feedback on a deal that they have? How can folks get a hold of you?
I'm on Facebook, Matthew Otero, very easy to look up. I have the logo of Amcorp Property Developers. I don't advertise much because I do more of my own projects, and I'm not really doing much right now. I consult with a lot of contractors, and I do home inspections as a partnership with an engineer. So I do home inspections for the windstorm, and yeah, Matthew Otero, or through you, if they contact you, I'm sure you can forward in the information. But I would, if people have ideas, I'm easy to share with ideas. And if you want advice on how to move these properties or move homes, I'm good on that too. And if you want to go in partnerships on the guidance of my experience on how to make it happen a lot more, I'll tell you one thing that's going to be a very good industry to get into right now. If you can create a partnership of investors with about and this is a high number to be playing with, but it's still very profitable, is between $5 and $15 million, is buying old apartments and turning them into new, either complete
Yeah,
renovated apartments, or back what they were doing in California, and it's worked quite well, is they turn these apartments into condos,
yeah,
and
that'd
it's
work.
very lucrative.
Matthew, thank you so much for coming on the show here today.
Thanks for joining us for today's Real Estate Pros Show. You can learn more about the amazing benefits of the Investor Fuel Mastermind community, including surrounding yourself with hundreds of other rock stars, 100% financing for your deals, and members-only discounts from vendors you're likely already using that, as a member of Investor Fuel, will save you more than the cost of your membership. Visit investorfuel.com to learn more. If you're interested in joining us as a guest of this show, please visit investorfuel.com/pros to apply. You can also check the show notes for access to free resources, how to get access to world-class lead generation, and much more. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another episode. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next show.